Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Penny, and this is Through Glass Eyes. This afternoon, we have Mr. Todd joining us from North Carolina. Thank you so much, Mr. Todd, for coming on and sharing your story with us.
Yes, thanks for having me, Penny.
My pleasure. And Mr. Todd, as we're going along, if any time you need to take a break or anything, you just let me know, okay?
Okay.
All right. And Mr. Todd, we talked a little bit before we started the video. We're both about in the same time frame. But can you tell me, prior to you getting infected, what type of person were you?
Pretty much hard charging. Uh, I I burned the candle at both ends pretty much. So I worked about 50 hours a week. I would do my workouts were jujitsu, powerlifting. On the weekends, I would go out Saturdays and Sundays. Uh, Typically a happy hour during the week. So. I never said no to friends. I was just kind of go, 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 don't stop type person. The you have enough time to sleep when you're dead kind of attitude. You hear that kind of stuff as you're growing up, and so uh, yeah, I wasn't taking care of myself by any means.
Okay. But it sounds like you were powerlifting, right? So you were taking care of yourself that way.
Well, yeah. I mean, you kind of when you think you're taking care of yourself, are you really? So uh,
Okay.
jujitsu is a grueling sport, and then you're powerlifting on top of that. And then, you're out running around in the bars 3 nights a week and you're working 50 hours. And, I mean, is the human body really meant for this? I think today's day and age, this is what we think we're supposed to endure and do and strive and goal orientated and, don't quit, don't be a quitter, things like that. So, uh, my life doesn't look like that now. It's completely different, and my train of thought is different, and my thought of how it is to take care of yourself is nothing like that anymore.
Well, let me ask you about when you were infected, and then we'll come back to that and we'll talk about what changed in your life. Will that be okay?
Hmm.
All right, so let's talk about when you got sick. Um, have you been sick more than once? Have you tested positive for COVID more than once?
Just once.
Thank goodness. Thank
Yes.
goodness. And when you had that, what were your symptoms? Do you remember?
Yeah. So when I caught COVID, I was sick for about 6 or 7 days, and I mean it felt like uh, a bad cold, bad flu kind of thing. Fever, sore throat, just complete ill feeling throughout your body. And I remember one night, it was about day five, and I had like really bad anxiety. I don't know why. I mean, it was just really bad, and I felt like this certain sense of like I feel like this virus has penetrated a certain level in my body that has never done before, and it's not supposed to be there. And I wasn't doing well. And I remember being out. It was in December. I threw my clothes on and I had to go out in the cold and walk because I was just so sick and like anxiety. And um and and then the next couple days I started getting better, and then by probably day 8 I felt fine. So I was like, okay, I'm all right. That brings me right into right about day 11 or 12. what do? We go to the gym, right? Because you don't want to lose your gains and things like that. So I went to the gym and I did a light run and I did some light weights and things like that. I was, yeah, like I don't know, day 11, day 12, something like that. And and then once I was uh, done working out, um, it was the next day and I started feeling like tingling in my hands. I tried to go out and shovel snow in my driveway and I had tingling. I was like, what is going on here? This is just weird. And then, so what do? You go to the gym and, try to work it off. So this is probably about day 14, something like that. And I went to the gym and then I went to my girlfriend's house after and had dinner. And I had, after dinner, I had the worst stomach ache in my life. It was cramped, just, it was the worst. And I couldn't, I was just like, I mean, and I woke up that in the middle of the night and I'm like, yeah, something's wrong with me. It's just, I felt this odd feeling over my body and I was like, something's really wrong with me. And then from there on out, it was brain fog started setting in. Within a couple days, I was like zombie-like brain fog. Um, my stomach was still killing me. I couldn't eat. I don't think I ate for I mean, a few weeks. It was just
Wow.
terrible. And then I started getting this where I was trying to fight it, and I started getting this dizziness where I was like falling into walls, kind of stuff. And if I would guess, it'd be about 3 weeks in, and I never went to the doctor in my life ever. And I called my girlfriend and I said, I need to go to the doctor. And she was like, at that point, she's like, something's really wrong. This guy wants to go to the doctor. I didn't go to the doctor ever. So, and yeah, and the, the journey started from there. It didn't stop for a long time. So, yeah.
So let's talk about that first doctor you went and saw. Was it a regular, like a primary care physician? Was it a specialty? Do you remember?
I never had a doctor. So I went to the emergency room.
Oh,
I
just the
didn't even,
emergency.
yeah, I'd lived in that area for a long time. I didn't even know how to get to the doctor or where, and so she brought me to the emergency room. And
How did they treat you there?
I remember I remember walking down the hallway and I was in, it was like, I was like, is this really happening? And I didn't know what goes on in emergency rooms. Um, they made her stay out in the weight room, the waiting room, and I sat there and I remembered this guy. He was a nurse, and I was telling him, I'm like, I haven't eaten, and my stomach is just killing me. I can't think, and he gave me this tiny pill. Yeah, I haven't taken it since, but it was unbelievable. I know there's going to be somebody watching this. It's this, but what it does is it turned off all of the feeling to my stomach, and it's just a teeny little pill. For the life of me, I can't remember what it was. Um, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I was sitting in that bed, and I was like, my stomach feels so much better. I mean, I can't even believe it. And then they gave me aspirin, and I'm like, well, so what do you do? And he's like, just rest and take aspirin and water. And, and then they let me out of there. And so I kept taking those little pills and starting to eat a bit. Boy, I wish, I'm just, the stuff is coming to my memory as I'm talking about it. I forgot about this, but I kept taking those little pills, and I think it was about a week long, and then all of a sudden they didn't work anymore. And
Oh no.
yeah, and I went back and then I started trying to eat again or continue to eat, and I couldn't. And I got this early satiety, I think is what it's called. I would eat one bite, and then I would be instantly like full, like stuffed full, one bite. And so that brought up like anxiety. I couldn't think. I was starting to get weaker and weaker, and I couldn't eat, because I was like too full. And so it was just escalating. This was just getting worse. And so yeah, I don't know. That was my first doctor's visit. Is
I am so sorry. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry to hear that.
yeah.
So that was the emergency room. How
Yeah.
many doctors do you have now?
Well, I'm back to zero now,
Oh,
but
okay.
I went for the first year and a half. I went to I probably should have wrote this down, but so I went to the I went to the emergency room probably a total of 3 times. I went to two general practitioners. I went to an ear doctor. I went to a chiropractor. I went to a gastroendocrinologist. I went to uh, a couple naturopaths. Um, and I went to two hormone doctors. So I was just constantly and going in, and one of them would tell me one thing, another. The chiropractor told me that there's a chance I'd never recover. The other guys, the generals, a lot of them just told, well, we don't know what to do with you. Some of the naturopaths, they were setting me up on like bags of the cocktail bags of IVs. And the emergency room, they were saying, get on some Malox and Miralax. And they took an X-ray of my stomach, so it just nothing, yeah, nothing was even coming close to it. The one emergency room, they took a bunch of blood and then they never called me back to tell me, where my vitamins were and stuff like that. So
Oh no.
yeah. So then, yeah, then that was kind of the doctor stuff. I spent $30,000 in the first year at cash out of my bank account. And then I started getting onto blood testing. And I blood tested. I did the $300 ones where they were the RBC. That's the good one to check inside your cells. Um, and um, I took the Dr. Patterson's tests, um, and that tested like the cytokine storm and things like that. So and then I was taking other blood tests and stuff like that for hormones and other vitamins. So I took, and that was the total of first 2 years. So I did a lot of testing, and so you get on vitamin D, and then I was taking B shots for a while. It's like 3 months of B shots every day, and the cytokine storm tests. I would go in, I would take those, and I would do all this stuff and running around, and then I'd go in and I'd take another test later, and nothing ever changed with all of them. They were all like the same all the time, even injecting all of this B12, and uh, at the end of year two, the testing, I was just like, no more. I'm just not gonna, it wasn't doing anything.
It got to be. It's a lot. It's a
Yes.
lot of testing that they send you for. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I had to, most of the time I had to get rides. I had to have people bring me there because I was just so messed up. So now I look back on it, and it to me more so the tests are kind of a dog and pony show because I took the supplements and I did it, and nothing ever changed. I didn't feel better. The test results didn't do any different, and it didn't help my long COVID at all. So I don't know, it's a great business for doctors. There's no risk, and it's money coming in, and uh, so yeah.
Sorry, I'm just writing this down real quick.
Mhm.
Um, and then I lost my train of thought on top of it. Writing it down, I lost my train of thought. Uh, um, Forgive me. So when you went to, please forgive me, my brain went totally blank.
No,
So,
yeah, yeah, and I think I kind of trailed off there a little bit because you had asked me about doctor visits and kind of how it went, and yeah, and it was just a real runaround, and it was really depressing, and um, it, some of them were kind of rude. A lot of them, just wanted to pass you off. The ones that tried to help really, just weren't much help at all. And so, to be honest with you, sweating my condition um, uh, and going around and doing all that, I just, there was times where I just kind of continued to slide downhill doing that. So, um,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, and I know that when I go out on threads and people are like, um, I've gone to this specialist and this specialist and this specialist and this specialist, and then they'd be like, I finally got somebody to diagnose me. This is awesome. They they gave me a long COVID diagnosis. Now, I don't know, maybe that would help, like, as far as applying for disability or something like that. But, and I don't know. You're shaking your head no, and I don't know. But other than that, where does that get you? There's still no cure for it. So,
Right. And unfortunately, I got a message from somebody I already interviewed. Their friend was in front of the disability board yesterday because of the long haul COVID, and they denied her. So that's going to be an issue too. That we'll have to figure out a way to address that with the right people because I was blessed enough to work from home and have this job that I have. Most of the time, I can work whatever hours I need to, but I can't imagine. And before I got sick, I was a chemical lab technician. I couldn't imagine going out in the world and working like this.
yeah, 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 very difficult. Um, so yeah, during that time, the time frames and everything, I think that for the first 6 months, it was like I just wanted to die. It was just that bad. One night I laid on the couch and my girlfriend it was about month 6, and she was typing up my will for me because I legitimately thought I was in so much agony that I was going to die. But it was, I slid downhill for the first 6 months, and then I was just bad for 12 months. Um, and it got to be about month 14. I went back and looked at some messages and things like that. And it was right about month 14. I'd sit and doom scroll every day, and I ran across this one, post, and it talked about brain retraining and things like that, and the nervous system, and I thought, yeah, if I had spike protein, it stuck in my cells, and I had this autoimmune issue and stuff like that. I've got to be past that by now, I'm thinking, and that got me to where my brain is just like uh, distorted and my nervous system is hijacked. And, but I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I'm at that point, and what's the worst case scenario that can happen if I just calm my stress reaction down here and start thinking a little bit different. And I remember YouTubing, and there's all kinds of free videos out there. And that day, I just kind of like breathed, and I'm like, I'm gonna start being more calm about this, and this is where I'm at right now. And after I was done with that, I felt about a 0.5% better. It was tiny, but I felt it, and I'm like, maybe this is something. So, so from there, every single day. So from like month 14, every single day I would listen, I would go on YouTube, and for all the people out there that are like, he's just trying to sell something, no, free. I don't understand what people don't understand about free. These are free videos, and I would watch a couple of them a day, every day, and I still watch them. And I think, I don't know, the doctor stuff. It was a year and a half out or something like that. I stopped that, and I listened to these videos, and I listened to the patterns of recovery, the symptoms, what's going on, and I would just over and over and over, and I didn't um, obsess about it, but it was just aha moments all the time. And I'm like, okay, uh, low stress reaction, um, continue to toe the line a little bit. Don't get caught being, just stagnant, and pace religiously and see what happens. And voila, year 4, and I'm functional. I'm about 90% at this point. But um,
What do you notice that's not back to normal yet?
so I don't even really know. I think I didn't even answer your question about symptoms. Didn't you ask me about symptoms? And I kind of
Yeah,
derailed.
but I thought you were talking about them as you went.
Oh, did I? Okay. So,
You've been touching on them, yeah.
okay. So brain fog where, I couldn't even drive and get around, the eating. I had I'll just list the symptoms for you and then let you know kind of how they eventually went away. Um, so the heartburn and what was just so intense, it was like lava. And I sat up in my bed, for at least a year, sleeping upright. Constipation, the anxiety. Um, One that I'll definitely get back to is the full assault on my muscular system, twitching, weakness, and electricity. Had it all three, and I still deal with the electricity today. Um, Dizziness, the vertigo for the first year. Um, the feeling of doom and anger, ice pick headaches, the headaches were just, and the tinnitus, and the fatigue was like, I felt like I was just in quicksand walking with another 1,000 pounds on my shoulders. I couldn't believe how, the autoimmune reactions. One time I ate a pear before I went to bed, and all of a sudden my lip went like that. It just
Oh, wow.
weird stuff. And light sensitivity. So. Um, so after, at the 14-month mark, when I started just calming my system so I could get my body a chance to heal instead of fighting this tooth and nail, accepting where I'm at and breathing and stop pushing. Because most of the time I couldn't get around anyways, but when I would push, it would just be like a tensed up feeling in my body and I would try to push. Um, so once I started calming, um, uh, that's, some of the first things to go were the the light sensitivity started to go, and the immune reactions a little bit, um, and the early satiety. Actually, that was more in like the uh, in that first 6 months stage. Um, and so I started trying to work on the brain fog, and the brain fog. I'm bouncing around here a little bit. This is hard, but the brain fog. I got on strictly carnivore diet. So I don't know. It was, if I was to guess, 4 or 5 months, and I did strictly uh, beef, salt, and water 3 times a day. I'd lost so much weight, and I was to a point where I had anxiety about continuing to shrink up and have to go to the hospital. My parents were scaring me into, you're gonna have to go to the hospital, and I'm like, I don't want to go there, So I was I was nervously eating. I'd eat 3 times a day, and I'd eat a pound of beef each meal, and I would force myself to eat a pound of beef. And my brain didn't flare up near as bad as eating other foods and stuff like that. But so it kind of helped with the brain fog a little bit. And essentially, what had happened is that my digestion was so bad. Um, I was taking HCl, hydrochloric acid pills, and ox bile, so I could help digest the beef and stuff. And so with the acidity of the beef and the pills and everything like that, I ended up getting gastritis. And I got the gastritis. I don't know. It was like later in the first year, and the gastritis just tanked me again and dropped all my weight down to, I was just gaunt. I was at 139 pounds, and it was just
Mhm.
terrible. And I didn't know what was going wrong. I was like, what's wrong? COVID hit me again or something, but it was gastritis. So, um, the gastritis took me until a year ago to fix and figure out, because you know, I went to all resources that I could to try to figure it out, and finally figured out it was gastritis. And I figured out how to fix that. So, and then the last thing that's hung around is the electricity. So if I do things a little bit too quick, or if it's new where I have to learn it and physically do it, and if I do it too fast, and I have to stop, breathe, and, get to a point. And if I can keep doing it eventually, then I can kind of work my nervous system up where I can do it more actively and stuff over days or weeks, whatever it takes. So weird, but yeah, that.
I can relate with all of that. And not that, well, I have pins and needles coming down my right arm now, but when I went to a back doctor, he said I've got some nerve pinching going on for that one. But as far as what you're talking about with your belly, the craziest thing, I was getting sick for over a year. At first, it was like maybe once in a while, then it became like once a week, and then it came multiple times during the week, and then it was every day, and then it was I couldn't keep anything down. Just before Thanksgiving this year, something changed, and I'm able to eat again after a year. but I had an endoscopy Monday, and my stomach's all inflamed, and it came back gastritis too.
Okay.
But that's what they're saying is causing, all my vomiting and stuff. But
Yes.
it's just interesting to see how all that happens because it's been happening for so long, and I feel like
Yes.
I could show you in my chart where I'm sending messages to doctors. I can't keep food down. I need help with fluids. I need help with this, just because at one point I didn't know what was going to happen because I couldn't even keep water down, and it
Yes.
was so extremely scary.
Yes.
So I
Yep.
can definitely relate. I don't know how you did all that beef, though. I'm just being honest. Beef is not a friend of mine since I got COVID. It's
It,
weird.
yeah, it was well, I couldn't do it. That's why I was taking the HCl hydrochloric acid
Okay.
pills and the Tudka, so it would process it for me, but just not quite enough because it gave me the gastritis. And
Uh,
so, do you want me to go through how I fix the gastritis? Because I think there's so many people that have this, and you go to the gastroenterologist, and they won't tell you any of this. And I could probably save you a ton of time, pain, agony, and things like that. But this is how I fixed it. Um, and again, I should have had, yes, some of this. Okay. Um, so this is my theory, not a doctor. But my theory is that the nervous system is out of whack. Um, and your stomach works on peristalsis, I think is what it's called, and that's just the nervous or the nerves, that moves the intestines and it moves the food. When your nervous system isn't working right, that's off, and when that's off, the food sits there and it ferments. And then you have it when it ferments, the gas goes backwards, which pushes up acid into your I think it's called duodenum, and into the bottom of your stomach. And that's bad. When that happens, you can last for a little while doing that cycle, but once it does it enough and the gastritis, it starts burning parts of your stomach and that duodenum, and uh, then that's when all hell breaks loose. And gastritis can cause so many. I bawled my eyes out for probably 4 days a week because I was such a mess, from this. You won't process foods, you won't go to the bathroom right, and so logic would say you got to get the food moving, right? And so, and you got to stop acidic foods. I went out and I bought that book, Acid Watcher's Diet, and Dr. Aviv. And matter of fact, I wasn't very with it. And so I listened to it on ebook. And so I figured out what foods are low acidic, and there's not many of them. So, and you got to eat low fat too. So I bought an Instapot and I ate chicken and and some veggies and things like that because you don't want to fry it, and you don't want to eat acidic foods and you want to eat low fats. So I did that, and I took I only drank high pH spring water. Do not drink filtered water. The stuff's hard and it'll burn your stomach. Um, George's aloe water. This stuff is works well. It soothes the burn and it also helps you go to the bathroom. I take 3 shots of that a day. Um, you have that gas coming up. You have to control that. Simethicone. There's those little simethicone pills. I would take those a little bit. And sometimes I would make like fennel tea. Sometimes that helped. Uh, Ginger is awesome for digestion, but when you have gastritis, it'll send you through the roof. Um,
oh,
uh, Charcoal is great for helping with that. DHL, that's that dihydrolyzed liquid or licorice. A little bit of omeprazole until um, um, I did take the Miralax to keep things moving fast. I got on artichoke herb. Um, that helps with that. I would rub peppermint on my stomach. Don't drink it; it'll burn your stomach to pieces. Um, Magnesium citrate is very good. That helps keep things moving as well. And uh, it's gross, but enemas I did for I don't know a year. Enema every other day because if you don't, it's and that every day for a year, and now I don't have any stomach issues. So
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's I found out that spices are messing with me, so we've been a little bit more careful with that. And I can't eat a lot of processed foods. We found that out too. So we make a lot of the food at home because of that reason. I
yeah,
say we, it's not me at all. One of my best friends moved in and he cooks for me and takes care of me on the days when I can't do it.
tell him thank you for sticking with you because the friends and family they're angels from heaven. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, as we're talking about that, how did your family react to you getting sick? You said your parents were worried about you because you were losing all the weight. Did they believe? Well, obviously they believed something was going on because you're losing weight, right? Were they supportive during that?
They didn't know anything about it until I was like month three, because like the first 3 months, I dropped like 40 or 50 pounds. And then,
Wow.
and then I was kind of laid up on the couch, for the most part. And then I decided to call him one night and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And, my mom's like, what? Well, and, and, my dad's calm, cool, and collective. And guess what he is? He's a pharmacist. So, uh, he, uh, works with doctors. He's on 9 pills a day himself. And he's like, did you go to the doctor? What does your doctor say? Nothing, they don't know anything. So they came down and stayed with me for a month, and I was an absolute mess. My mom had a nervous breakdown because my behavior was just erratic, and dad was bored to tears, I think, after 30 days of sitting by me. And he just goes, yeah, they're just like, you need to go to the doctor, Todd. We can't do anything more for you. You know, um, my girlfriend, she actually moved in with me and she helped me out a ton. But about a year and a half in, she checked out. She was just like, hey, I'm out, I'm out, So, and then I have two best friends, two buddies, and they did they did so much for me, and they still do. I don't I don't really need the help, but I don't know. They're that good of friends. So my two buddies pretty much saved me from total financial ruin for sure. So
Oh, good.
yeah.
Good. Now, are you able to work?
hmm I work I work 40 plus hours a week now. I work
O-
out with weights. Uh,
Okay.
2 times a week. I hike in the mountains once a week. Me and my dog, our last hike was um, we it was 4.9 miles, so 5 miles. And do I still have symptoms and stuff like that? Yes, but my brain is in the right place to deal with it, keep calm and like for this interview, talking a lot and loud and fast and stuff like that, and I can feel it, and so I know when I'm done here, I'll just need to, you know, uh
Take a nap.
yeah, get through it and yeah. So,
Um, I had another question that disappeared again. What would be your biggest advice to somebody um, just starting out? Just because I see on Reddit, people are just now starting to experience, a bunch of new people are just now starting to experience the symptoms. What would be your biggest advice? And I think I already know what it's going to be, but what would be your biggest advice to those people?
yeah. Well, the thing that we don't know for sure is, does the spike protein hang out for a while and continue to cause this cascade in your body, and until it finally lets go after months later or whatever, and then you're just stuck with trying to pick yourself up out of this. Is I'm not gonna, personally, I'm not going to let this just do what it wants to do to me. I'm going to take the antivirals. I know ivermectin's. Do we talk about meds on this?
You can.
Okay, so
Ivermectin has come up before. Absolutely.
I know that ivermectin is anti-parasitic, but um, there's a lot of evidence of off-label information out there that helps. I think it helps clear the ACE2 receptor that this virus attaches to. So, Miraviroc helped me. I feel like it started turning me in the other direction. I'll be taking ivermectin. I think there's hydroxychloroquine. There's herbs that I'll be taking as well. Lysine, I know, is helps virus. We always talk about EBV, and I'm gonna keep my nervous system down. So if I have to take Klonopin and a magnesium and not do anything for a while, I'm gonna do that. And I'm just not going to I'm not going to fight against my own body like I did before. It's going to be a different approach. Paxlovid, I would consider taking that as well, and then the rest of it's going to be brain work, and yeah,
Just taking it day by day. And like you said, I think I started feeling different when I started accepting it and not fighting it too.
yeah,
Because that's our brains, right? We were told all our lives, you want to feel better, keep going. And that's not the case here. The other day I went to when I went for that endoscopy, my daughter had taken me and I was like, can we get a wheelchair? It was just a bad morning. And she was like, no, mom, I think you can make it. And I'm like, can we please get a wheelchair? And she's like, Mom, I really think you can make it. And she just moved back home. So this is her, first experience with it. But I explained to her after that because it kind of hurt my feelings too. But she doesn't know,
yeah,
so I told her, I said, when I say things like that, we have to do that. It's not an option because I know how my body feels every day, and it depends on how I wake up that day. And
yeah,
that I mean, everything worked out fine. I didn't have the excessive sweating or anything like that, so I was blessed there. But sometimes it's scary just the thought of walking a distance and having something like that happen.
yes, yep, yeah. There's yeah. What when you describe that exactly, it makes me think of one of the YouTube groups that I follow. It's the CSF Recovery. They have a paid program, but they also have tons of free information out there. And Miguel is on there, and there's this other guy. He's real well spoken, and these guys have all gone through it, and they go through their story very well spoken, very descriptive. And I thought of when you were talking about that, you know, uh, they talk about like you have to be you have to be brave, because our brain, our minds are going to be wanting to lock in because we don't want to crash again. So we don't want to make that walk that you're just describing there, you know,
Right.
because we feel these symptoms and then our brain is telling us, don't do it, you know. And so somehow, in order to get out of this, you have to find that balance of like pushing and coddling this thing too much where it wins and it keeps you down. And they explain that very well.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up too. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Awesome. Um, is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
Um, you know, I'm sure I'd probably think of a few things that,
It
uh,
always happens after each interview. I'm like, dang it, I wish I would have asked him this or something. So,
yeah, yeah. No, I don't think so. The one thing that I can say is that, um, the pattern of like seeing people that push, 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 and then they catch COVID, and then here you are, I think that that's a thing, and it should be noted. And so when you understand, how to start climbing out of this, it's a life change, and I think that's a cue for all of us to change our ways. I live a completely different life now, and so when you're in this, it's highly important that you go out on when you're out on these threads every day and you're doom scrolling. There is a lot of negative people out there. All they want to bring politics in on this, and they want to throw the Effenheimers out at you and call you names and things like that. And just for asking questions or making a statement or anything like that, you gotta stay away from that stuff, and you gotta get on the recovery videos and follow those people because they're there to win, not to lose.
tear you down and
Tear you down
right.
and lose, So surround yourself. There's a every successful, powerful individual out there. That you read their bio or their story or they tell you advice and they're like, you are who you hang out with. So surround yourself with good people. I'm going to start with Jesus. Uh, and
Amen.
I try to model, after that. And I want to hang out with other Christians. And I don't want politics to, dictate my recovery or my happiness or my identity or anything like that. So get off that stuff. Be happy. Hang out with happy people. Enjoy, because you're going to take a dirt nap here and you're never ever coming back. So it these are all minutes, seconds, minutes, hours that you could be doing enjoying something, and so uh, cut it out.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Mr. Todd. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and then we'll continue to talk, okay?
Okay.